Hey, welcome to my podcast. I'm Manina, and you are listening to an episode of Aspire Big, Inspire Bigger podcast. Hey guys, welcome to my podcast. I am joined by my friend Nachelle, and I'm just gonna have her introduce herself. I'm excited for her to join me.
Hi guys and girls. My name is Nachelle Aurelien. I am a internal medicine resident physician. I'll be done in less than 2 weeks. Less than a week now. Basically, I am a doctor who is trying to maintain her swag while educating the people as well as encouraging the people, while maintaining my self-worth and love and care and all of the above.
Necessary. And did I mention she's a black woman? Hello? Somebody.
Oh yes, I am chocolate.
I'm excited because we met each other, how many years ago now?
Oh my God. 2013?
So we've known each other for a long time. We met in our church, Hillsong. Our pastor is Carl Lentz. He's a bomb, man. Have you seen what he's been doing for our community, with our community? Like how he's been standing with our community. He's the bomb.
Yeah, he really is.
He got it. He got the juice. That's all I'm saying.
Right. I'm like, if only people would actually be as empathetic as him, we'd be so much further along.
Right. Because, with the whole thing, this is a podcast created by a black woman. I have my friends coming on who are black women mostly, and maybe I'll have some black men coming on. And I'll have different people of different races and different creeds and different things of life. But just to know that there's someone that they may not know the answers, but they're seeking for the truth and they're active about it. And they just don't have to. That's just so heartwarming to me. They just don't have to. There are so many other pastors in the world that they're just getting it wrong right now. So I'm so happy for Pastor Carl Lentz. He's, it makes me feel good about just choosing that place. I have been to so many different churches, and I was like, it was for a reason. So I met great people, and I can stand by the pastor who was the leader of that church. That's awesome. I feel good about that.
You know what I like, Manina? I love when your words align with your actions. And that's one thing I can say about Pastor Carl. There's a lot of people who want to quote Martin Luther King Jr. There's a lot of people who want to quote Bible verses. But it's like, okay, this is nice, but what are you doing? Correct. How are you going about this?
Correct. When I heard Occupy All Streets, first of all, I'm from Harlem, so I was like, ew. Pastor, okay, you talking to me, okay? But I thought that was just about, helping the homeless and just spreading the word of God. I didn't realize for him, it meant the same thing that it would have meant to me, which is all streets. He's okay to go into the middle of the hard street to go on, where you got to stand at the top of the block and be like, "Ooh, deep breath. Please don't kill me while I come down this block. I just want to come and help y'all." Like I know I don't belong here, but I came to occupy a mall. Not a podcast about Pastor Carl Lentz, but that's where this friendship started, and it's become a sisterhood, and it's just awesome.
Period.
So we're going to talk a little bit about your story first, and just how it plays into your professional life and things like that. So just tell us a little bit about where you're from, and the reason why I feel like it's so important to have professionals on my podcast is, one, because it's necessary in our society. We need people who have taken the extra step to help heal, to help grow, to help understand our society and move it forward. But also, we need people of color who are doing that. There's so many people of color who are victims of so many negative things in so many different regions of the society. I want to highlight people of color who are doing it and doing it correctly. I want people to know, young people especially, and even people our age, because sometimes we get to our age, we'll be in our mid 30s, early 30s, late 20s, and we're like, oh, well, I wish I would have did that at 18. It's too late now. I'll just go get a state job, or I'll just go get a city job. I'll, drive the bus or something, which is nothing negative in those things. That's hardworking people. I'll work a job, okay? I work 2 or 3 jobs. I'm a whole entire African. I'm not playing. But a higher education, there's nothing wrong with doing that later on in your life. And I want people to be inspired by people who are doing it and who have done it. So I just want to know your story, because nobody's story is the same, and I'm sure you weren't handed life on a silver platter. Let's hear who you are.
Okay, so known fact is that I was born and raised in Naples, Florida. My family, we are Haitian. I'm Haitian American, but if you always ask me, I'm gonna say Maïsien. So born in Naples, and then as far as my trajectory into medicine, since I was a kid, I always told my mom I wanted to be a doctor. In high school, I was like, maybe I want to be a lawyer instead. Then realized that writing is a headache and a half. So then after that experience in high school, I was just like, okay, let's go to medical school. But let's set the tone, like you said. There was no silver platter, but what there was is determination. So the thing is this: I was the first one to graduate high school in my family, as far as like being the first generation Haitian Americans, and then the first to graduate from college. And then after that, I was the first one to get accepted into med school, and then go into med school. But I went the Caribbean route. I went to med school at AUA. So I did 2 years med school over there on the island, and that's more so book work. And then I did the other 2.5 years, and the half years is just because of lull of time. I did it stateside, and that's how I met you, Manina. But the thing is, during high school, I've always had issues with studying and everything like that. And as I got older, I realized, hey, I do have ADHD, and those are the things that were kind of like my hold up. I'm not the best test taker at all. But at the same time, what I've realized is that all these standardized tests that they have, it's not meant for everyone to pass. It's like there's a systemic standardization within the testing, because it's like, I come from a very affluent community, 95% Caucasian. So it's like, how can you ask someone who's first generation A, B, C, and D to go ahead and be able to answer these questions without having the college preparatory classes in schools like everybody else did, right? So those are the difficult things that, looking back, I'm like, wow, I'm so excited I'll be able to do different for the next generation. So then I went to college. I was a super senior. It took me 5 years to graduate, simply because there were certain classes that I just couldn't pass. And I would cry because I'm like, God, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor so bad, praying, having to retake courses and everything like that. And then I finally graduated. And then when I applied to med school in the Caribbean, basically because although the GPA wasn't great, they had this bridge program where you had to do like 6 months of like prerequisite work before they would allow you entrance into the medical school. And so basically that's what happened with me, whereas I applied with another girlfriend of mine and she got straight into the med school.
So how does the bridge work program work? What do they have you do?
So you had to do anatomy and physiology. You had to do like algebra, like cell biology, like basically the core things that you would need in order to understand what you'll be doing in med school, which would be anatomy and physiology, but like a higher level, and like histology. What other courses did I take? Ethics for the first year of med school. But in order to see that you could even handle what they were going to give you, you had to pass that bridge program. Right. And so I felt like ever since I was a kid, like I'm always having to prove myself or my worth to people, right? This is not the career to choose to be like, oh, I just want to feel great about myself. No, it's not. This is a career that will, it's rewarding, but it will chew you up and spit you out several times.
And it's okay to be chewed up and spit out, because when you get spit out, you wipe yourself off. and go back at it again. It's to grow you. It stretches you.
Right, right. And I can honestly say I'm so grateful that I went to med school in the Caribbean because I'm not gonna lie, like your girl was stuck up. And that whole situation gave me a humble pie every minute, every hour, on the hour. Now I'm like, I don't need to go through an experience to eat humble pie. I'm good. So that was
Right.
one. That was it. And then I did the 2 years in stateside, when, and in New York, mainly New York. And that was another headache because I didn't know the area. I came from a small town in Florida. Um, so just going through that, going through med school, learning how to study differently, right? Because that's what it's all about. And then also losing people. Like I lost 2 family members while in med school to the point that I was depressed. Nobody had to tell me if I was or was not. I knew it. And coming out through that, and then finally graduating 2015 and seeing how good that experience was, and how blessed I am, that I made it. So then afterwards, after I graduated, I did not match. So matching basically means like, oh, okay, you have a specialty that you're going into after graduating medical school. I did not. That did not happen to me. And so I cried and prayed and was like, okay, God, what's my next step? Lo and behold, one of my friends kept texting me, hey, Nash, they call me Nash, by the way. They're like, Nash, I need your CV, which is like your resume, your curriculum vitae. And I was just like, for what? Like, what do you want? And lo and behold, he had a research position at the esteemed Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut. And I thought he was trying to catfish me with a career job, legit. I was just like, you trying to play me for a fool? And he was like, no, I want to see your CV. And it's so crazy because looking back, I asked God to give me a research position where people would have to question, how the heck did I do that? And he answered it. So then I spent 2 years there and then finally reapplied for the match. And on my third attempt of the match, I matched into internal medicine residency, and that's where I am now.
That is awesome. So basically it's a road, and it could be a long road. Even if you do med school and all of those things in the amount of years that they allot for you to do it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy at all.
I think we all
No,
understand
ma'am.
that.
It's so funny because I had a friend who it took her extra years to finish out school. Obviously, she changed majors more than once and things. And so I was talking to my father, and he said, "Oh, it took her almost 10 years to get her degree. Good. That's the kind of doctor I want to go to because she took the class over and over. She knows the stuff now." So I don't want somebody who took the class once. I want somebody who took it 2 times. So, so we know that she knows how to fix it. So, and you know what is really important to me to talk to is really in those moments you really want to give up. You really feel like I'm not good enough. I'm not equipped. And the truth is, I'm sure that everyone who's going through those programs, no matter how quickly, no matter how great they look on the outside to everyone is having that same battle on the inside. What am I doing here?
This is a battle. That imposter syndrome does not stop, by the way. It does not stop.
It's forever. It's life. It's literally your whole life. You're like, wait, so mom and dad, why didn't you tell me this? Why don't I know this? They're like, girl, I don't know it either. You know, it's life. It's everything. When you when you are going through life, you're like, no, there's no way that my parents should not have told me this. They still figuring it out. If they haven't told you, if you haven't seen it, they don't know either. We're all still just figuring everything out, and we're all just as scared as each other. So imagine having going to school for a career that is so esteemed in our society. That's even more fear for this. Less people around you have done it. Nobody who you can go to and ask, hey, how do I do this? And am I doing it right, or am I doing it halfway correct? Like, can I wing it at least? Am I even in the right ball field to do this? That is life, especially for a first generation.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. Anything.
Because literally all my father has to give me, or all he can say to me is, I just want you to get your degree before I die. He has nothing else to give me. Okay, this is a man who grew up in the desert, and he doesn't even have kindergarten, pretty much. He went to Quran school, and that was as far as it goes. Very intelligent, highly intuitive, great wisdom, but he didn't go to school. So all he can say to me is, if you need help, ask, and get your degree before I die. Okay, thank you. Oh, great, thanks. Yeah, speak to that. Speak to just how you're just out there. It's like being out to sea. You have to figure it out. You have to stay above water. How do you figure it out? Is there something that you tapped into? Is there something that you did? You said you had some things that were apprehending you in a way with learning or attention span and things like that. So how does that play into to studying? When you say you have ADHD, does it play into memory, attention span, and all things like that?
Well, it's not really that I have issues memorizing things. It's just I can't do it for a long time. You have those friends who could be like, I'm going to study and I'm going to sit here for 3 hours and absorb everything. Yeah, no. For me, I'm like, Like, I'll give you 30 minutes. If you can't teach me something in 30 minutes, probably by minute 31, I'm out the door.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with, um, I just don't like it. I really do like it. It's just my brain's everywhere. So I do, you take your medication to help you with that, to help me focus better. But what I've realized is the way for me to study is different than everyone else. Like, there's other people who they can read a book and get everything from it, whereas me is I need short spurts of it. So like I'll do 30 minutes, 10-minute break, or go do something else just so my mind doesn't feel overwhelmed. And then other things for me is like, watching videos. I learn better that way. Not to say the reading is bad, like I'll read, but watching videos is what works for me as well. And I think the thing that people need to realize is that even though we all go to like any type of learning, you have to know who you are in order to learn how you learn best. Trying to use someone else's methods is not going to work for you because it's not you. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's everything with this whole med school journey, is just really learning what works for you, and not being so hurt about the timing of what's for you.
So we talked about a little bit about believing in yourself and in your pedigree, basically like who you are and what you're all about. You need to believe in yourself. You said when you went to school in, where was it, Antigua?
Antigua and Barbuda.
Okay, when you went there, you were a little stuck up. You thought you was, the bee's knees, and you learned about yourself, and you built who you are. You built yourself in your humility, and you learned what you were made of as well. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I learned what I was made of. The thing for me is just like, we all are like, oh, I was born in America and my family's from here, right? If you're a first generation, like, immigrant child. One of the things I realized while I was living there is like, Nash, this could have been your life if your mom didn't come to the States. And I'm not saying that, it's looking like feed Africa, like, no disrespect to anything like that, because we would be wilding out sometimes with the commercials. Like, people are living in Africa and all these other places where people of color are beautiful and they're actually thriving. It's not the commercials that they try to feed off on.
Right. My family looking good out there, so.
Ma'am, right? I'm like, okay. So, right, like, this is not the full reality. But the thing is that, going over there, you being inconvenienced. When someone says, yeah, machine come, and it's like 45 minutes later, knowing they were supposed to be there 10 minutes ago. Like, it's those type of things. It's those setbacks. It's the thing that my family is not close. So I really had to really love my own, my own space. Learning to make good friends, leaving friends that you realize or associates that you realize aren't good for you. And the most thing for me was just like learning to have local friends to really understand the country, and one, see how blessed I was living in the States. At the same time, like, at the end of the day, I'm no better than anyone. I'm in someone's country trying to attain a dream, a goal, and make it a reality. Like, we don't have time to be haughty. You have to humble yourself if you're trying to figure out where to get groceries, if you're trying to, figure out where are some of the local places that you can go wash your clothes, go study, all of those things. And just become part of the lifestyle too.
Right. It's just literally acclimating yourself to your surroundings really teach you about yourself, how you maneuver that, how you get through those things. Do I do that with a nasty attitude? Do I do that, you know, am I humble enough to say I don't know what I'm doing? I need help. I don't know where I am. Please help me. You're starting over. What are some of the things that you say to yourself, like your self-talk to just help you push through tough situations?
There's one thing my mom has always told me, and she's just like, Nash, you're closer than further away. Don't deny everything that you've gone through, because you're closer to the dream than further away. Other things that I've told myself is like, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, when God creates something, he says that it's good. He never said that it was lacking, or like, oops, I've made a mistake. Like, remember that you are fearfully, wonderfully made. Remember that the very thing that you're praying for, you have it, right? Sometimes you're like, oh my God, I just want this, I really just want this, and then you forget, like, you're actually in the presence of attaining it.
Right.
And the other thing is, it's just like, yo, you are smart. You are so smart. There's only 2% of African American female physicians, if you calculate all the doctors. And I have to remind myself of that. Like, not only are you fearfully and wonderfully made, don't disrespect God's confidence and who he created you to be by doubting yourself.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. That's a conversation that I always have with myself too. Like, I'm like, don't even, so you're saying that you don't, like, why would you doubt the very thing that God said was good and has confidence in what he put in you? And so that's one of the things for me where I'm like, the moment someone makes me feel like, I'm less than, or this is this, I'm like, first off, you're not going to disrespect my journey, because you don't know what I went through. Second off, I'm closer than further away. And third off, I'm like, I'm not even here to impress you. I'm here to confirm what God put in me.
That's real talk. That is good. That is good. Ooh. So let's go into that. Let's go into other people's story about who you are versus, who you really are. How do you handle that? How do you handle boundaries, setting boundaries, and still being in a place that doesn't include you, really? The numbers of us, as you said, what's the percentage?
It's only 2%.
2%. I'm sure the other part of that 2% is not at the same hospital you're in right now. So how do you handle boundaries and dealing with that, and still be professional, and still be yourself, and still be growing and loving, and not turn into a bitter mess?
How do you do that? And well, the thing is, you really try to remind yourself that you cannot be bitter, because that's just one more label that they're trying to throw on you, right? Bitter Black woman, angry Black woman, aggressive Black woman. And I'm just like, first of all, if you want me to show you aggressive, I can, but my license, I'm not gonna do that. The other thing for me is like realizing that I am not entitled, nor am I complicit in acting out the outlook or perspective you have on me, because that's not my internal conversation. Like, it is not my job to make you feel comfortable just because you're intimidated by my presence.
That is good. So I'm not responsible to teach you what it means to be around a Black woman. I'm just a person. I'm just living my life. I'm trying to figure it out just like you.
I just feel, for me, like, it's not my job. It's not even to educate you. It's not my job to make you feel comfortable in my space. If you're intimidated by me, or You think that you think whatever you want of me. Your perception of me, um, it's not my job to dismantle that. My job is to uplift myself and remind myself of everything good about me, because the world is not kind to people of color. They make you feel as if you have to do more in order to hold the same weight. And it shows by our current times right now. And I think the thing for me more now than ever is just that when it comes to boundaries, people know I do not play. Whether it's microaggressions, macroaggressions, like people know not to um, think that if they can do something to someone else, that it can be done to me, simply because I don't play in regards to my boundaries. Boundaries, as in just making sure I protect myself and my time, because what you'll realize is that people have no problem taking from you and not replenishing the source.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, I'm connected to God, which He's a never-ending source. But
Right. It doesn't mean that you owe them to deplete yourself just because you have a never ending source. They cannot wring you dry. They need to get their own source. And that also feeds into the self talk that we have. And sometimes we'll say something to ourselves and we are telling ourselves a total complete lie, because some of the people who have come from different walks of life where this is set up for them, um, they have no idea what they are doing. And when they see you, and in your head, you're like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And you're doing it well. And they're literally like, how is she doing that? I have no idea where she even got the concept for that, because they have no idea what they're doing. So you have to really think about that and understand that, you know, getting a help, a nudge isn't the best thing all the time, because you're truly lost. And when you're saying it to yourself, when you're saying, Nosh, I am, what am I doing here? You have to remember that they literally shouldn't be there, but something helped them. You know, you're there on your merit. You're there on your own hard work and merit, and they are there because
somebody knew somebody.
right. So they really don't know what they're doing. So they're not asking you because they think you're, the house slave. They're asking because they don't know what they're doing, and they know you do. But that's not your problem. They went to school just like you. They should have studied harder.
Figure it out.
That's been my thing. Boundaries is making sure that I protect myself to protect my peace. And I saw this meme where they're like, everyone's just like, with boundaries, like, people get upset if you put boundaries, and that is so true. Well, why don't you want to go? And I'm like, okay, I just said no. There was no comma. There was no semicolon. No with a hard period. Full stop. Like, no, as in I'm not going to put myself on all these committees, so I'm stressed and I can't even take care of my home. No, I'm not going to be your token, Black person. You need to get more people in order to help. We need more numbers. We need more people that look like the community. And just kind of preservation of self, preservation of peace. And people get upset about that, but that's not your problem.
You're always in control, and you're responsible for your own peace.
Yes, 100%.
And people will take from you in every single corner of everything you have to offer. People will take from every single corner. They will leave you not even a crumb of yourself for yourself if you do not have boundaries. And that's in everything. And that can include family. That's even your friends. Sometimes you have a friend who's in a different emotional stage or a spiritual stage of their life. Doesn't mean you have to cut them off, but just know you're going to give them a limit of how much we're going to talk about this, because you're not going to suck me dry. And then I'm thinking that, all things that have to do with this situation that you're dealing with are bad and it's hopeless. No. Okay, I'm sorry you're going through that. I can give you peace. I can give you a piece of my peace and my understanding of this. But after that, you got to work on it yourself. You got to work it out yourself.
Let's talk about that for a second. There's a lot of people who are so okay with taking and not replenishing their own source and not doing their own therapy and not doing the very thing that they crave and that they love about you is at their disposal as well. And it just boggles my mind. And I feel the more confident and loving you become to yourself, you can pick people like that out and be like, hey, I'm going to help you for a little bit, and then be very strategic with your boundary so you're not exploited.
Absolutely. That's just an awesome plan of attack right there. It's like, I love you, but let me tell you something. You're going to get this much. And if you don't want to do the work, I'm okay with still loving you, but I don't have it for you. Because I'm doing work. Let's talk about the work. I'm doing work. Like you said, there's therapies, there's reading, there's quiet time. There is time with friends who actually have something to offer and
feed into you
and talk, speak life into you. There is so much work. And I want to talk about being an introvert on top of all of that. Because even when somebody's feeding into me, if we're going to have a 3-hour conversation, I need to not talk to anybody again for another 3 days.
I'm tired, okay? I don't have it for you.
And then you don't even want to do the work? I don't know what to tell you.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating because it's like, oh, I need your help. I helped you, and then I showed. Here's the thing. It's like saying, oh, I'm so hungry. Okay, let me make you some fish. Oh, I'm so hungry. Let me teach you how to fish. Can you just make the fish? And you're just like, wow. So you don't want to learn how to fish so you can get your own fish and sustain yourself. And that's one of the things where it's for me, I feel for all Black people, because we're all Black women in general too, is like you're always seen as a stoic figure. You're really strong, you're really resilient. And you're just like, most times I just want to go home and take off the cape. I don't even want to go into work with the cape. So don't put that on me. I have my own life I'm dealing with. You should sort yours too.
Right. And the truth about it is I don't have no cape. I don't have a cape. That's really the truth about it is I don't have a cape. I don't know what I'm doing. But guess what? I'm working hard to figure it out. So that's why I seem strong, because like you said, I've built my boundary, and I know that if I take more than 5 pieces of chocolate today, my stomach is going to hurt at number 6. So I have to limit myself. I can't take everything you got because I know my limits, because I don't have a cape. I'm human just like you. And I don't want to be crazy, because if I'm crazy up in here, you gonna call me the angry Black woman. I'm gonna tear it up in here. So you have to realize, like, yeah, exactly. It's the truth. It's like, I can give you what I have because I know what I don't have. And there's no cape in that.
Nope. There's vulnerability, and we all need that.
It's self-realization. It's self-love, and it's self-talk. Like you said, you have to speak to yourself with love. Say things to yourself that you would tell your friend that you want to see happy. Say things to yourself that you would want somebody to say to you when you're feeling lower. You have to speak life into yourself.
You have to speak life into yourself, because you really have to be like, yo, I really love you. Like, this is the one self that you have for the rest of your life. 1, you might as well get to knowing who you really are. And 2, you might as well learn how to love yourself, because then you set the standard, and that's how you can create good boundaries. Because it's like, if you don't really love yourself, you're just going to do everything to make everyone else happy or to please everyone. And in actuality, that means that you still don't love yourself, because what happened to protection of self? And it's not like a selfish thing. And I hate when people are like, oh, self-love, you're being selfish. No. It has nothing to do about that. What it does have to do is about, I love myself, I have a standard for myself, and I respect myself because I believe in what God put in me. What I have gives life. So I don't want to say waste it, but I can't just freely give it, because that's what God does. That's not my job. My job is to facilitate that, but it's not so much as, I'm so giving that I'm depleted.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like, you're not a martyr. There's no such thing as a human martyr that's helpful to anyone. That's, God sacrificed everything that's needed to be sacrificed. whatever you want to call it, because there's so many people from many different walks of life and aspects of spiritualism, religion, all of those things. But whatever it is you want to call it, or whatever it is it means to you, you cannot sacrifice for it. It's sacrificed for you already. So what you need to do is tap into that source and grow from it. It is all knowing, it is all supplying. Tap into it and grow from it. You cannot deplete yourself and think that you're going to be a better person for it.
That's a word. That's an entire word. Like I say, and I continue to say, we have so much work to do. So much more work to do.
The last thing I want to talk about with you is we have all these things going on right now. Rest in peace to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor. It's too many names. And the sad thing is, it's too many names. What are we doing for mental health? What are we doing for mental health?
That's good. That's really good. So for me, for mental health, when all this happened, I'm not going to lie, I cried. And I prayed, and then I spoke with my therapist. And I can't even front. I went and got a massage because I was so tense.
Wow.
And people don't think that, or if it's mental health, like it's just, going to a therapy or sometimes getting help with extra help with medications and stuff like that, seeing a doctor. Mental health for me, by being stressed, it also affects the body, right? And for me, I got these wicked stress knots after I heard all of that happened, because not only was I afraid for my family, I know you can attest to this, I was afraid for my own life. Because I was just like, people out here are being real reckless with people of color's lives, and are I guess emboldened by who is the current leader of America at this moment. And mental health for me was crying, getting away, really having that alone time, and just shutting off the news. Shutting it off, because the news was only painting a narrative that was not the truth. The only truth that it did show was that someone was being murdered in broad daylight. But the mental health for me was crying, was praying, was getting away, talking with friends who actually are going through it as well, people of color, and just being able to sit there and just talk. And sometimes, you know what the talk sounded like? Absolute silence. But just knowing that, you're there on the other line of the phone or FaceTiming.
Yeah.
It was those things that was therapeutic.
Yeah, sometimes the talk is, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. I'm angry, I'm frustrated. Yep. And this is not new to, I'm
nope.
99.999% of Black people.
This is not new, because we do have other people of color who don't consider themselves Black, which is a whole different kind of catastrophe that we have to deal with internally, that are now being awakened to, oh wait, I'm Black too? They gonna kill me too? Yeah, buddy, hey, because that's what I tried to tell you. long time I tried to tell you, you Black too. But so now they're waking up to it, and they're like, wait a minute, Black lives do matter, because I'm one too. Yeah. So you dealing with that is so for mental health. It's like you said, it's not only about talking about it. It's not even about going out and protesting or posting something online or watching the news or not watching the news. It's really about looking forward and understanding what you really have to change in your mind about yourself as a Black person in this world, in this society. You can't even say in this society, in this world, because my father told me about a story where he grew up in Africa. They were minding their business.
You said minding their entire business.
Entire business, and the French army came in and was like, line up, we own this. Where you go to Africa and they're telling you, hey, you go to Mauritania and he's saying, they're telling you, I'd rather be called Arab than to be called African. Bruh. You know what the color Black looks like? You. Okay? The actual crayon color Black, it looks like you. You're not Arab, bruh. It's okay to be African. So it's all over the world where we just want to whitewash ourselves in order to stay safe. That's really what the truth is. In order to be safe and be considered as human, we want to just wash the black away. So we have to really understand what we're saying to ourselves and understand that that's not healthy. That's not healthy and it's not okay. And I know it's a survival tactic, but we have to figure out something else. And once we figure out something else, a different way to speak to ourselves, we can figure out how to change what's going on around us because we know what we're fighting for then. So we know once we change those things, mental health will change because like you said, like we said from the beginning, your self-talk and what you believe about yourself and your pedigree all falls into how you handle your life and your situations and the pride that you take in and how well you do in the situations in life. So mental health is really important. It's really, really important right now. And for some of us, it is, I need a hug. And on top of this, we've been sitting in the house for months. I know you're an essential worker, so you've been out and you've been having to, move, grind, and that's a whole other thing to deal with. But a lot of people been sitting in their house for months, like me, alone. Okay? I haven't had human contact since February, and it is now June. That's not healthy. Really.
It's not.
True human contact where I'm hugging someone I love. I'm, able to sit next to them, able to be in close contact with them. I haven't had that since the end of February. And that is a lot. There's a lot of people who are dealing with that. And then on top of that, now we watch Black people being persecuted on TV, hear about people being hung from trees, seeing videos, and they're telling us that they killed themselves.
That don't even get me started. Like, it's just such a lie. It's such a lie. And then even the other thing about mental health is also getting off social media. There's been times where I've had to go off for like a couple of days just because I'm like, you guys are doing way too much, and it's not good for my mental state. That was a boundary that I was like, all right, you have to enact this now because there's people who can deal with it at home, but I still have to go to work with people who don't look like me and not hate them and understand that I took a Hippocratic oath and that I have to help everyone and that I still have to help the gentleman who is not feeling well, who came into the hospital, and then when I do a physical exam, I see a swastika on him. Like, these things I am not making up. These things are the truth, and these are the things that people want to gaslight or overlook. And the thing for my mental health, too, is after this whole thing happened, I was like, I'm not comfortable in white spaces. I'm just going to hang out with my mom and my dad. You want to hang out? No, I'm good. It's not like it was really close because of the quarantine. But that's been one of the things is just going home and staying in my own presence and being in spaces where I feel safe and being unapologetic for that.
Unapologetic for it. That is even a more crazy thing. So since you touched on that, I want to touch on that really quickly too, because growing up, I grew up in Harlem. Like you said, you grew up in Naples. Two totally different demographics, okay? I didn't know a white person personally until I went to work. I know that's not everybody's story in Harlem, so, some people went to school downtown. I didn't do that. My parents kept me in my community, and growing up, which is not a bad thing at all. I honestly, that's a whole different policy that I strongly believe in, keeping your community close and growing with each other to build the inner wealth and the inner culture of your own community in your own society or race or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I've already had that outlook, that discomfort of not being around my own people at all times. So you're feeling that way now. What is that saying to you? How do you feel about the future, knowing that you feel that way? How are you going to cope with that? How are you going to hang in there with those feelings?
So what I don't want to take away from is that I've had some amazing white friends who've hit me up, not on some white guilt type stuff, but just like, I need to do better. And I'm sorry if, now I know I need to do better, right? The thing for me is some days are good where I'm like super optimistic because of the protest. Even I've gone to a protest, the voting, and really paying attention to what it is that we're doing in order to see these changes come about. The other thing for me too is some days I'm just like, I don't think I want to have anyone's gut full of humans or be married, just because I'm like, I would be afraid to have my child and have them go through the same things that has gone on for my mom when she immigrated here, for me when I was born here. Like, it's very discouraging. It's very discouraging. And then I have to remember, like, okay, like, God got this. This is no surprise to him. This had to happen in order for change to happen. That's another thing. So it varies. It depends on what day. This morning I can wake up and say that I am so grateful that I love being Black and that I will be the pioneer of change. Period.
Period. That's be the pioneer of change. That's what we're going to name this podcast. Pioneer of change. That's so important. That you have to take the responsibility to be one of the people who want change and work towards it. That doesn't mean, getting the most money. Doesn't mean showing yourself as the most capable, whatever it is. It's just an internal dialogue that you have to fix and live by. Build your boundaries, grow in your peace, grow in your understanding, grow in your wisdom, and just know that we're all one humankind and we all deserve that peace and that love from ourselves and from others. And the next generation is not playing any games. I've seen so many videos of little kids or, young teenagers and their parents like, well, I know Black people and I've worked in the ghetto, and they're like, Mom, you're stupid. Don't you ever, like, you're not even my mom no more. Like, they hate it. Our youth and our next generation really teaches us things that we lost, or that we didn't realize. And I hope that a lot of those kids who are really realizing the issues that their parents have will grow from it the same way the Black children are realizing. These white children are realizing, hey, we've got to do better than our parents did. I also see a lot of videos where parents are telling their young sons how they're being perceived out in the world. And these sons are losing their innocence and they're crying like, but I'm not bad. So at the same time, the young Black children are having to learn this hard lesson. The young white children are having to learn the other hard lesson. And I hope that they can come together and make a better world for them and their children. And just make this thing go right. That's what we need.
Go right, and continue the equality for all. And I love that, because what you notice is that younger kids, they don't see color. They do not see it. And I'm not saying like, oh, I don't see that you're this is this, but it's not so much as like, ooh, they're Black, they're bad. It's like, ooh, that's my friend. Okay, he's Black. It's a different dialogue for them when they're kids until they're tainted. And then for our children, as far as people of color, it's a sad thing to have their innocence taken away so young. That kills me. But you're absolutely right. It's about being a pioneer of change. It's about being a pioneer and, being the first in your family to do things, being the first in your family to want better, to become to build the generational wealth, to get rid of mindsets, right? And to really be that person who not only goes through the journey, but also becomes part of the journey by passing that baton on to the next generation.
I love it. I love it. That's we can stop it right there and really take a moment to gather, like, just how great we are and how important we are as individuals, and as a collective, we're important, we're needed, and all of us in every way we can are a part of the body, and we have to just do our work so that we can be a full functioning body.
Yes.
How can people find you on the interwebs?
So they can find me on the Instagram. My IG handle is NachemD. It's NACHEMD.
Perfect. And what are some things that you have coming up for you? Or what are some things that you're looking forward to for yourself? Or what are you working on for yourself?
Okay. Some of the things that I'm working on, one, I'm finishing residency. So starting July 1st, I will have a new position as a chief resident, which means everything that I've learned, I'll now be helping with administration and doing that. My goal is to make sure that the next incoming class that we have people that look like us and actually speak the languages needed in our community right now. Some of the other things I have going on for myself is preparing for the next step as far as after we're done with this chapter, where am I headed next, and really going further into the whole lifestyle nutrition medicine. I'm excited about that.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, you know how it is for our parents. Like they're always like, oh, they have some sort of bush medicine that they're using in order to help them as far as herbs and everything like that. So there's been this new tract in medicine where it's called integrative medicine. So basically, you're mixing Eastern medicine with Western medicine and meeting people where they're at. My main focus is on nutrition, just because I feel that our nutrition staples, they're not easily shown in a way to help us eat it the right and healthy way. And that's one of the things that's very frustrating to me, because, you know, you have your older generation, including our parents, who were more interested in, you know, drinking their teas and drinking something that's a bit more herbal and medicinal. But at the same time, if I'm trying to help you with your diabetes, can you please take this medication too? And being able to communicate with them based on their food staples, like, hey, is this good? Is it's not? Like, you know, for some people, let's say like African, how much fufu flour is too much? These things aren't easily found, like how to find kale recipes. So I just want to help our people as far as them still being able to live their life, eat the food that they want, but doing it in a healthier way, based on them actually knowing the nutrition of their food, as well as the medicines that they use, and seeing how that can help with their medication that they're prescribed. It's fun. I love it. Educating our people. The more you know, the better you do.
That is so true. All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on my podcast. I feel like we talked about so many things, but they're so important each in their own way. And I cannot wait for you to just kill it in this world. Smash it. Do your thing. And like you've been doing. And I need you to come back.
You know,
listen, I'm trying to come back to New York. I can't down here. I'm like, y'all wilding out. I'm ready. I've been ready to go. But then God's like, you have to stay. I'm like,
That's fine. He knows best. It'll work out for the better. All right. Well, I love you. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope it lifted something in you. If you have any questions, if you want to know more, if you're looking to be a doctor, podcaster, if you're looking to be anything, speak to us, talk to us, ask us questions. We will be interactive with you. We'll get you the answers and the resources that you need in the best way that we know how.
Man, Manina, I love you, girl. I am so proud of you. By the way, guys, Manina's been talking about this podcast for a hot minute, like when we first met, and I am so happy that you're aligning your actions with the very things that you spoke into existence. So here we are in answered prayer.
All right, girl. I love you.
Love you, girl.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.